Hi guys, welcome back for another daily lesson. Today we're going to be discussing characterization. So characterization is how the author reveals a character's traits to the readers. So it really is, how does the author tell us who this character is and how does this character function? Now, before I get into the notes, a couple of quick reminders. Number one, if you are looking up inappropriate things on your computers, Miss Sims is seeing it. If you are looking up curse words, if you are looking up things that you know you shouldn't be looking up at school on your school computers, Miss Sims is seeing it, and she will be making phone calls that are going to be extremely uncomfortable for her to your parents. Please do not force her to do this. Second thing, if you are confused and you are sending me constant messages, I'm confused, I don't understand, you need to ask yourself three things. One, did you actually look at the assignment? I know if you did or not. I can see if you opened it. Two, did you read the directions? Some of you are submitting things without even reading directions. And three, did you come to the live support session? My live support sessions are Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., meaning I have an hour and a half that you can pop in and get help. So make sure you come to live support. Please stop sending me, I'm confused. That doesn't tell me what you need help with. It tells me you aren't reading directions. With that being said, let's get into today's lesson. So, characterization, fancy term. If you notice in the word, we have the word character. This is dealing with that first part of a plot element or plot line, which is the exposition. It's the second half. Yesterday, I said that plot elements for exposition, you have your setting and you have your characters. Well, characterization deals with the second half, that character piece. This is how the author reveals character traits to the reader. So that's a fancy way of saying two things. One, he's telling us who the character is. And two, how does the character function? So is this an angry character? Is this a good guy? Who is this person? Or who is this creature that's the main focus of our story, okay? So that's characterization. Now, a character, just a quick reminder, is a people, animals, or creatures that are actually involved within the story. Well, there's two ways that we have characterization. The first way is called direct characterization. This is when the author directly states something about the character. Okay? So how do I know that I'm dealing with direct characterization? Well, they just outright tell me about the character. So that's the first part. Okay. So for example, if I'm writing a story and I have a female character, I want to tell you about her personality, I can say she was a cheery, always upbeat person. I've now outright told you that she's a happy person. Okay? The second thing that characterization does for us, for direct characterization, is it gives us a very, what we call, broad sweep. Okay, what do I mean by a broad sweep? So you can summarize the personality in one line. Okay. This is where they come out and they tell you, here's what they look like, here's how they are, here's how they act, here's what people think about them. They directly tell you. So it's very broad. It's like a giant summary. The third thing is that they give us very useful details. Okay. Useful details. So it's going to be short, concise, sweet, to the point. They're very broad, again, details, so they're very easy to remember. These could be things like the young lady with the brown eyes and blonde hair. Okay? It's very short, sweet, and to the point. And it also comes at the beginning of the story. Direct characterization is usually put forward in the exposition portion. Okay? The second type of characterization we have is called indirect characterization. Now, much like direct characterization, this is the exact opposite. So we have hints or clues to help us know about this character. So think of your little Blue's Clues here. That's what we have for indirect characterization. So what do I mean by indirect? We show and don't tell. So I'm showing the reader, okay, this character. So now we're dealing more with personality traits. Now I'm dealing more with how a character not only acts, but how people react to that character. So instead of saying she was cheery, always upbeat person, I can say her lighthouse smile beckoned across the crowd. What's her personality like? She's a happy person. She's smiling so brightly, she's literally calling people from across the room. So I've now shown you, I've used imagery, a lighthouse smile, a form of figurative language to help bring that information to you. Okay. Next one, I'm using what's called cumulative detail. Okay. So cumulative details, I'm using actions, I'm using words, I'm using dress, I'm using other details that build up a picture of who this character is. And once they're all put together, now you understand this person better. It's not, well, here's what they are. I'm not going to just outright tell you he's always angry. I can tell you things like his teachers never believed him when he was being picked on. He never thought that he had value. And at one point, he just stopped caring. I've used my words to express actions that have put this character in a point where he's angry. Okay, that's cumulative details. I've built them up. The last one that you need to know, this is really great for story development. Okay, it's useful for development. So the characters' actions, their words, all add up and they grow a very complex character. Think about yourself. You are a one-dimensional person. There's more to you than just this one little piece. There's your history. There's things that you have been through that make you who you are and make you believe what you believe. It's the same for your characters. You are a very complex individual, so should your character. This also means that unlike direct characterization, which comes at the beginning, remember, this was very specific, so it's in the beginning. This is much more broad, meaning that this one moves throughout the story. It can also mean that it comes later in the story. Okay? Not necessarily towards the end, but it does keep building as we go. Now I'm going to show you a trick to help you identify both indirect and direct portions of characterization. So take a moment, pause, make sure you got all of the blanks filled in on your note sheet. Here's your help if you are confused. Okay. Make sure you have your blanks filled in, and then move on to the second half of this video. So welcome to the second half. Now I'm going to help you identify character traits using characterization, meaning we're going to learn about not just our character, but our story with a little bit of an acronym. It's called STEAL, STEAL. So here's how this works. Each letter represents a different character trait or a different way you can identify the character trait. So characterization. I'm going to walk you through each letter and tell you what you need to know about the character in order to make sure that you've covered what that letter is asking you for. So let's start with the first one. The first one is S. This is what the character says. What does the character say out loud? If you come into my classroom and you're whistling a happy tune, singing something you probably shouldn't be singing, but you come in and you're, Miss Carter, how you doing? Oh my God, did you see what happened last night? I can tell you're excited and you're happy because of what you said out loud. I'm using dialogue and monologue to know what's going on with you. Dialogue is our conversation back and forth. Monologue is when you start telling me the story and I just shut up and listen. That's a monologue. You're talking by yourself. So I can look at what the character says to know what he's talking about. Perfect example from historical writing and classical writing. Shakespeare, Hamlet, the to be or not to be monologue is a character contemplating suicide. He's so upset about all these people dying around him and everything seems to be falling apart that he honestly believes if he were, let me get that off mic. If he were gone, the world would be a better place. So I'm learning from his monologue, one, that he has severe depression, and two, he has extreme empathy for those around him. Okay, so that's the S, what things say or what the characters say themselves. The next one are thoughts. So what is the character thinking? What's their point of view? This is great for third person. If you remember, third person, both limited and omnipotent. If the limited is the main character's thoughts, then I'm going to get a great view of that character. If it's third person omnipotent, I'm still going to get a great view because I know what that character is thinking. It also works well with first person. Okay? Because the character is speaking themselves. So they're going to tell me themselves what they think, what they feel. It's the character's thoughts. The next one, my lovely E, stands for the effect. Okay, so this is the effect that the character has on other people. And it's also their effect on him. So this is a back and forth. Think of it as, how do others react around this character. Now, we've seen this in real life. There are certain people that when they walk into the room, you just kind of go, oh, they're here. Sad times. Okay. This may be a negative effect, but based off of things that may have been said or something that may have happened, which we'll get to in a minute, it causes those around this person to react that way. You can have the complete opposite reaction, where somebody walks in the room and everybody flocks to them. Everybody goes right to them. We usually know who this is in the class. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. As soon as you walk in, everybody surrounds you. Everybody wants to talk to you. This is a positive effect that you are having on them. So this tells me a lot about another character. It can even be certain people that have that effect. So some go to them, some don't. Think of the movie Mean Girls. Okay. The next one is our actions. So talking about the character's actions. Okay. It's what do they physically do? How are they reacting? How are they moving? How are they talking? What are they discussing? Now, here's the important part that you really need to make sure you remember. Thoughts and actions are connected. These two like each other. They're connected because we act based off of what we think. For example, right now, I'm watching my son off to the side have a mini meltdown because right now he's thinking he can't finish what he needs to do. He's getting frustrated. Therefore, he's showing me an action of taking a break, putting his head down, moaning, groaning, having a little hissy fit. Okay? The last thing that we have is L. L stands for looks. This is direct characterization right here. Okay? And this goes into what do they look like? We're talking physical features. We are also discussing when we talk about this one, facial expressions. If you come into a room and you go, Miss Cart, see what had happened was, and then you go on this long diatribe about having all these issues the previous night with getting homework done. You're going to see my facial expression. And it's going to tell you one of two things. Either one, I don't believe you, because any story that starts with, see what happened was, is usually a lie or filled with multiple lies. Or you're going to watch me stare at you because this is not your first see what happened was story. And I know that you're making an excuse because you just didn't do the work. So facial expressions. Are very important, okay? When you put all these things together, you get your direct and indirect characterization. If you're wondering which is which, looks usually is a direct. It can very rarely be indirect. Usually if it's facial expressions, it's indirect. But for the most part, they have to tell you what the character looks like. When we talk about actions, this is a direct characterization. They're going to physically tell you, he ran to the store. He did this. That's a direct. The rest of these are indirect characterization. So it's telling me about the character, but it's doing it in a very roundabout way. Now, actions can fall into this also, but for the most part, these ones up here are all indirect. Okay? Now, as you read through your story, I'm going to assign you a very specific character. I want you to fill out this chart. I'm going to give you a blank one outside of your fill-in notes today. I want you to fill out this chart for that character. So give me, what does the character say? That tells me something about that character. What does the character think? That tells me something about that character. What effect does that character have on other people, or do other people have on that character? What actions does the character take? And what does the character look like? You're going to be asked to do this for one specific character from our story. That characterization does not go in your notes. It will be a separate file. So make sure you have the chart filled out from your notes for this. Okay? Don't forget, you also have a reading comprehension quiz to take today. And no, you will not be able to use the reading on the quiz. Your computer will lock when you open up that quiz, meaning you won't be able to flip to a different screen. Okay? I will see you guys tomorrow with another mini lesson. Tomorrow's lesson will be on grammar. See you then.